Busy legislative session led to 77 new state laws that just went into effect. But there is one more new law that's going to take another year before coming reality. And that delay is telling because this change comes with a wide range of emotion. Tens of thousands of adoptees born in Minnesota will have access to their original birth records through this law for the first time. But again, the state is taking a little extra time getting this going. So Kent takes it over from here.
Yeah, Jana, when this law goes into effect next July, I'm told nearly 150,000 adoptee birth records will be eligible for release. In the meantime, the state is giving birth parents time to indicate whether they'd like to be contacted, but they will no longer get to decide if they remain anonymous.
Joe Dewey can't remember a day that he didn't know he was adopted.
I knew all along. My parents always told me that I was adopted. I was adopted at 3 months old.
But for most of his life, that is virtually all he knew.
My birth mother was young. She gave me up because she couldn't really take care of me, so to go to a better home kind of thing.
When did you realize that you wanted to know more?
Really young. I mean, I think I was probably a teenager, and I always was under the assumption that when I turned 18 or whatever, I could go and ask for the information and find it out.
You thought that that was the case way back then?
Yeah.
It clearly wasn't.
Correct.
It will be.
It will be.
Starting next year.
Yep, July 1st.
Will you be requesting a copy?
Yes, immediately.
When the new law takes effect in July of next year, any adoptee born in Minnesota who's at least 18 years old can request a copy of their original birth record. A change Joe and a coalition of adoptees and legislators spent more than 20 years advocating for.
We made it very clear that this was a rights issue for adoptees because I don't think that's ever been really thought about. The impetus was always on the birth parent's choice and control, regardless if that birth parent even really agreed with that stance.
The current Minnesota law does give birth parents the sole choice to disclose birth records or not. According to MDH, only about 17,000 birth parents have filed the paperwork, but of those, 91% have chosen to disclose those records.
I've met many, many birth mothers who, in that situation, were definitely open to meeting their birth kids.
Ahead of the law change, a new form released this week by MDH does give birth parents the chance to indicate if they'd like to be contacted, prefer to be contacted only through an intermediary, or prefer not to be contacted at this time. But those preferences will not prevent the adoptee from knowing who they are.
DNA completely changed the landscape with regards to that, so anonymity is not there anymore. You can't hide that anymore.
Joe says he used DNA and Ancestry.com to track down his birth mother several years ago.
The drive is insane. I wanted to know. I mean, I had to know. It was important to me. It was important to me for me and my kids, and my adoptive parents as well also were interested in knowing because they didn't know anything either.
And did you try to reach out? Did you make any connections? Or?
I did. She, unfortunately, by the time I met her, had been 10 years into dementia. So our conversations are a little bit buried now.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay.
If you had gotten that form back and it said, I wish not to be contacted,
I would respect her wishes and not reach out to her. But I still would have known who she was and where I came from. Everybody's got a unique story, so everybody's sort of got their own individual path. I have many people that I went to high school with who also were adopted who aren't interested in pursuing it. That's their choice, completely their choice. We just didn't want to have the law say you couldn't have that choice.
when that law changes next year, Minnesota will become the 15th state to give unrestricted access to birth records. According to MDH, there are an average of 2,000 adoptions in Minnesota every year. And again, this new law could instantly unlock access to nearly 150,000 birth records next July. Jana.
Wow. You mentioned it took 20 years. Any indication as to why it took so long to get this through?
Well, Joe said it did often seem to come back to that question of what about the privacy of those who made that difficult decision, the birth mothers or the birth parents. He said the problem is that they never really had a lot of information on what some people really wanted, because a lot of times they'd go through an agency that would seem to make a decision for them. So those records were simply out there, and they've been fighting for this ever since.
Oh, so interesting. Thank you so much, Kent. We appreciate it.